The lights inside the America's Got Talent Theater glowed softly as another contestant stepped onto the world's biggest talent stage. At first glance, no one expected what was about to happen. Standing there was a young Filipino singer, humble, nervous, dressed simply, with eyes that carried both hope and fear. The audience applauded politely, but there was no explosion of excitement yet. Simon Cowell leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, his expression unreadable. He had seen thousands of singers over the years, many claiming to sound like legends, only to fall apart after the first note. When the judges asked where he was from, the contestant proudly said the Philippines, his voice trembling slightly. He shared a short story of growing up with very little, how music became his escape, how Elvis Presley songs played on an old radio in his home, and how he dreamed of singing like the king of rock and roll. The audience listened quietly, unsure what to expect. Simon raised an eyebrow when the word Elvis was mentioned. Covers of Elvis were risky, especially on a stage like this. Too often they sounded like cheap impressions. Simon had already prepared himself for disappointment. The music cue was ready. The room fell silent. In that moment, no one, not Simon, not the judges, not the crowd, could have imagined that they were about to witness one of the most shocking and emotional performances in AGT history. As the music began, the contestant closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Then he sang the very first note, and instantly everything changed. Gasps echoed through the theater. His voice didn't just resemble Elvis Presley. It carried the same soul, the same depth, the same haunting warmth that made people feel like they had traveled back in time. It wasn't forced. It wasn't exaggerated. It was natural, powerful, and emotionally raw. Simon Cowell's posture shifted immediately. His arms slowly uncrossed as his eyes widened in disbelief. He leaned forward, staring at the stage as if trying to understand what he was hearing. The audience erupted into spontaneous applause before the first verse even ended. With every line, the singer grew more confident. His voice soared through the room, rich and controlled, capturing both the vulnerability and strength that made Elvis legendary. The judges glanced at one another in shock. How could someone from a small town in the Philippines sound this authentic? This wasn't imitation. This was reincarnation. The crowd began to stand, some with hands over their mouths, others wiping away tears. Simon's expression, usually so guarded, softened. For the first time in a long while, he looked genuinely stunned. This wasn't just a good audition. This was something rare, something unforgettable. As the performance continued, the emotion in the room intensified. The contestant poured his entire life into every note, years of struggle, sacrifice, and silent dreaming woven into the melody. His voice cracked slightly at one emotional peak, not from weakness, but from truth. That tiny imperfection made the performance even more powerful. The audience was no longer watching a talent show audition. They were experiencing a moment. Some people in the crowd openly cried. The judges were visibly moved. Sofia Vergara clutched her chest, whispering, "Oh my God." Heidi Klum shook her head in disbelief, smiling through tears. Howie Mandel leaned forward, completely frozen. And Simon Cowell, the man known for crushing dreams with brutal honesty, looked emotional. His eyes followed every movement, every breath, every note. When the final chorus hit, the contestant lifted his voice with such strength that the entire theater vibrated. The sound wasn't loud, it was deep, resonating straight into the heart. When the song ended, there was a split second of silence. Just one heartbeat. Then the entire room exploded. The audience jumped to their feet in a thunderous standing ovation. Cheers echoed, whistles filled the air, and applause roared like a storm. The contestant stood there, overwhelmed, hands shaking, tears forming in his eyes. He had just done what millions only dream of. He had conquered the AGT stage. When the applause finally settled, all eyes turned to Simon Cowell. He paused, clearly searching for words. This was rare. Simon didn't rush his opinions, especially when something truly shocked him. Finally, he leaned toward the microphone and smiled slightly. "I did not expect that," he admitted. The crowd laughed, but Simon wasn't joking. "I've heard Elvis songs my entire life. I've heard thousands of people try to sing like him. And honestly, most of them fail." The audience held its breath. "But what you just did," Simon continued, "was extraordinary." Cheers erupted again. Simon praised the contestants' tone, control, and authenticity. He said it didn't feel like a tribute. It felt real. "You didn't copy Elvis," Simon said. "You honored him." Those words alone were worth everything. The contestant broke down in tears, covering his face as emotion overwhelmed him. Simon then added something even more powerful. "This is why this show exists. Someone like you from anywhere in the world can come here and remind us why music matters." The audience applauded wildly. The moment felt historic. Simon's disbelief had turned into admiration, and everyone in the room knew they had just witnessed something special. As the judges gave their votes, the outcome was obvious, but the meaning went far beyond yes or no. This performance represented more than talent. It represented hope for millions of people watching around the world, especially in the Philippines. This singer became a symbol of possibility, a reminder that dreams don't belong only to the privileged, the wealthy, or the connected. They belong to anyone brave enough to chase them. The contestant spoke through tears, thanking his family, his country, and Elvis Presley for inspiring him. He said he never imagined standing on a stage like this, let alone receiving praise from Simon Cowell. The audience responded with love and support, chanting his name as he left the stage. Backstage, the emotion continued to pour out. Crew members hugged him. Other contestants watched in awe. Everyone knew this audition would go viral. It wasn't just about sounding like Elvis, it was about feeling like Elvis. About carrying the spirit of music across oceans and generations. That night, a young Filipino singer didn't just perform a song. He changed his life forever. Long after the lights dimmed and the stage emptied, this audition continued to live on. Clips spread across social media. Millions of views poured in from around the world. Comments flooded in calling it legendary, goosebumps, and the best Elvis performance ever on AGT. People replayed Simon Cowell's stunned reaction again and again. The moment became timeless, a reminder that true talent knows no borders. Years from now, fans will still talk about the night a Filipino singer walked onto the AGT stage and shocked the world with an Elvis voice that felt impossible. For Simon Cowell, it was a rare reminder that even after decades in the industry, music can still surprise him. For the audience, it was a memory etched into their hearts. And for the singer, it was the beginning of a journey that started with a dream, an old radio, and the courage to sing. Some performances entertain, some impress. But once in a while, one performance does something more. It makes history. And this was one of those moments.